Let me ask you something uncomfortable. If 5 people rushed you at the same time, would you automatically lose? Most people answer instantly, of course, it's 5. Except real life rarely behaves like clean math. Because humans don't move like a perfectly synchronized team. They hesitate. They misread each other. They assume someone else will act first. And that's where things get weird. Before anyone misunderstands this, 5 against 1 is still extremely dangerous. People get seriously hurt in situations like that. This isn't a go fight people message. This is a human behavior gets messy in groups observation. Because reality isn't ruled by numbers, it's ruled by human behavior. Number 1. Diffused responsibility. Nobody wants to be first. Here's the first psychological crack in the numbers always win story. Responsibility spreads out. When it's one person alone, responsibility is sharp. Every decision is theirs. Every second matters. But inside a group, responsibility gets blurry. Each person unconsciously thinks, someone else will make the first move. We'll move together. I'll react when he reacts. And this creates something deadly in real time. Micro delays. Not dramatic hesitation. Tiny delays. A half-second of waiting. A glance. A moment of, are we doing this? And in real conflict, half a second is a lifetime. That's why you sometimes see groups do this weird thing. They're big, but they don't actually commit. They hover, they posture, they talk, they circle. Because nobody wants to be the first person to cross the line. Number 2. Coordination isn't automatic. Groups aren't one brain. People think a group means coordination. But coordination is not a default setting. Coordination is a skill. And most random groups do not have it. In real life, when multiple people rush one person, you don't get clean teamwork. You often get people blocking each other's path, bumping shoulders, swinging too wide, pausing to avoid hitting their own side, hesitating because they don't know where the other person will move. So instead of 5 times the power, you get 5 times the chaos. And chaos doesn't always help the group. Sometimes chaos creates the one thing the lone person needs: a gap, a moment, a direction to escape. Number 3. Social breaks. Humans aren't robots. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Most people are not built for real violence, even if they talk like they are. In a group, people still have internal breaks. Fear of consequences, fear of looking stupid, fear of going too far, fear of being the one who gets blamed. And you can actually see it in the body. They move forward, then pull back. They step in, then wait. They do almost action. Because deep down, they want the power of being in a group, without the cost of being the one who truly commits. That's why big numbers often look intimidating, but behave timid. Number 4. The switch. What happens to the one person? Now flip it. The lone person has no diffusion, no shared responsibility. Their brain reads one word: threat. And when the brain reads threat, it does something brutal. It stops being polite. It stops thinking in social terms. It stops imagining outcomes. It enters survival mode. Heart rate spikes, adrenaline dumps, attention narrows. And let's be clear, this doesn't make someone a superhero. It makes them desperate. But desperation has a strange power. It strips hesitation. The lone person isn't thinking, how do I dominate? They're thinking, How do I get out alive? That kind of focus can be terrifying. Not because it's smart, because it's raw. Number 5. Adrenaline warps reality, good and bad. Adrenaline is not a power-up. It's a trade. Sometimes it gives you explosive energy, speed, a temporary shift in pain perception, tunnel-like focus. But it also takes things away. Fine motor control, accurate judgment, clear vision, calm decision-making. So the lone person may act fast, but also act reckless. This is why those "one person holds off many people" clips exist online. Not because the lone person is always superior, because the human nervous system does weird things under threat. And groups under threat do weird things too. So what's the real truth? Most of the time, numbers win. Reality is brutal. But the chance is not zero. A group can absolutely overwhelm an individual, especially if they're coordinated and committed. But the reason this topic feels so strange is because it reveals something deeper. Groups feel powerful, but they aren't automatically efficient. Pressure changes behavior, and unpredictability changes outcomes. And if there's one line you should keep, if conflict becomes real, avoidance beats theory every time. Because the same chaos that makes these stories interesting is the same chaos that sends real people to hospitals. If you like exploring the uncomfortable truths people don't want to admit about human behavior, stay with Curious Human. Because humans are not math. And under pressure, we stop being predictable.